Hi, welcome. I'm just spotlighting my video because I didn't do that in a training before. So now I'm spotlighted.
I didn't know my camera was on. Oopsies.
And then you can go back. Then I get huge. So then you can go back to gallery view if you're like me and you like to see everybody. Good morning, Jamie. Welcome. So glad you're here.
Good morning.
So I was telling Marilyn before both of you jumped on that, people, it's like popcorn. People start popping on, right on the hour or a minute or two after the hour. So if you want to take the last few sips of coffee or tea or get a blanket or a pillow or whatever, go for it. And then we'll start in a minute or two. Welcome, Melody. So glad you're here. I'm so curious if anybody want to, yeah, Marilyn's having bad weather and it keeps booting her off. So we're hoping she's going to stay. But I'm just so curious if anybody's willing to share what drew them to this little free mini course on Teresa of Avila and on the Christian mystics. You don't have to, but I'm just curious. I'm going to tell you what draws me to the Christian mystics. So well, it's 1 after the hour, so I think I'll just go ahead and get started. And then if people come on, they come on. Well, welcome. Marilyn says me. Thank you, Marilyn. Welcome so much for coming. I'm really excited. I literally could teach a whole year-long course just on Teresa of Avila. So 30 minutes is going to go very quickly and only be a tiny little bit of flavor of these teachings, but hopefully something will spark in you, something will inspire you. So I thought I would tell you a little bit, just a tiny bit about what brought me to the Christian mystics, and then a little bit about Teresa of Avila, and then I'm hoping we'll have a little bit of time to sit in meditation and introduce you to a Christian contemplative practice. So I was raised Catholic, and when you are raised Catholic, you learn all about the saints. The saints are a big deal. And not all the mystics are saints, but a lot of them are. And as a child, my impression was that you worshiped these saints, that these were people that achieved something that I couldn't possibly achieve. And the reason, when I found the mystics as an adult, the reason I love them is because they're all so fully human. They really embody their own humanness, their own brokenness. Many of them are products of their time and went through very hard things, imprisonment, illness, chronic illness, plagues, you name it. And out of that brokenness and out of those dark times, they still were able to find a spirituality and able to find the divine within. And not only found that inner knowing and that inner love, but then they had the courage to bring it out of themselves and teach others and write about it. And so I just love that, because they are true contemplatives, and yet they took action and brought that love out into the world as service. And so I just love them, because I don't see them as, sitting up on some throne to worship, but I just see them as humans like the rest of us who were able to tap into something bigger than themselves and then serve others through that. So that's why I'm drawn to them. And the interesting thing is, I hadn't really thought about the Christian mystics for a few years, intensely in any way. And then I started on Mind Oasis, and I started taking some Buddhist classes, Introduction to Buddhism. And all the things that I was hearing in these classes related back to things that I had learned from Christian mystics. And not all, but a lot of it. And it really opened up my eyes to the universality of all of these teachings, and how if we could all realize how universal a lot of this is and take that into our hearts, maybe there'd be a lot more understanding and peace in the world. And so it kind of reignited my fire to go back and study the Christian mystics a little bit more. Today, I'm going to read to you from Teresa of Avila. I'll just tell you a couple sentences about her since we don't have a lot of time today, but I am in my 4-week series. One full lesson will be on Teresa. So Teresa of Avila, she grew up in 16th century Spain during the Inquisition. And her family was Jewish, and her grandfather was wealthy, luckily, and bought some nobility and bought into Christianity so that they weren't persecuted. They were being investigated so that they weren't persecuted. And so she was raised as a Christian in a very wealthy household and expected to marry and have tons of children. And she didn't want to go that route. And she was kind of a little bit of a wild teenager. I like that about her. I was too. And so her father sent her to a convent thinking that was going to, for a little bit, straighten her out, and then she'd come home and get married and do what she was supposed to do. Well, she never came home. She decided that she wanted to live her own life and explore a relationship with God and help the poor and help others. And that's what she did. She embarked on a life of service and prayer and contemplation. And there's so much more to her story. She was in prison. She had lifelong chronic pain and illnesses related to that imprisonment. And through all that, created a deep connection to God. I'll use the word God in this, in today and in the training. If you don't prefer that word, you can use spirit, universe, human connection, whatever you want to use, but I'm using the language that these mystics used. So I thought today, as part of my meditation, I would introduce you to something called Lectio Divina, and that's a Christian contemplation practice. And Lectio Divina means word of God. Today it's going to be the word of Teresa. And what you do with Lectio Divina is you just sit and start to follow your breath and just kind of center ourselves. And then someone reads the passage. And the first go around, you just listen. You just let it soak in. Maybe notice how if your body has any kind of reaction to anything in what I'm reading. And just let it soak in. And then we'll sit in silence for about a minute and just kind of let what I read to you, her words, soak into you. And then I'll read it a second time. And if you have a piece of paper or a journal in front of you, after I read it the second time, if any word jumps out at you or any phrase really spoke to you, you can quick write that down. If you're doing a full Lectio Divina, then what you would do is really kind of sit with those words or that phrase that speaks to you and meditate on that. But today, I think since we have so little time, what I'll do is I'll read you some of Teresa of Avila's writings twice. The first time, just listen, just let it soak in, see how it feels in your body. The second time, maybe pick up a few words or a phrase that speaks to you. And then I'm going to go right into, I'm going to couple it with my typical shamatha meditation, which is the lineage and tradition of the founder of Mind Oasis, and just abide in our breath and, just sit with your breath and maybe whatever's left over from the contemplation of Teresa of Avila's words. And when I'm going to read to you, it's not too long, but it's a little longer than maybe something I would read in a regular meditation. But I really want you to get the flavor of the writings of the mystics and Teresa herself. These Christian mystics that became teachers, they are prolific writers of poetry, of books, and the language is beautiful. Mostly comes down to love, that we're all loved and we are love. So let's just get settled in. Gently close your eyes and just take 3 or 4 nice full breaths in through your nose, little pause, and then a nice long exhale out of your mouth. And just take 3 or 4 of those at your own pace. And just begin to notice the connection of your body to the surface that you're seated or lying on. Just place your attention on that connection. Let yourself feel held. The earth has got you. And now see if you can place your attention on the feeling of air on your skin. And the feeling of your clothing on your skin. Perhaps noticing the difference between the two. And now see if you can place your attention on a faraway sound, the furthest away sound you can hear. Might even be outside your window or another part of the house. As Karuna says, we are householders. There will be life beyond where we're seated. It's one of the many things I love about the Christian mystics is they believe that all of life can be a prayer. And now see if you can bring your attention to a sound that's very close to you. Maybe even inside of you, your pulse, your breath. And just keep your attention there for a few moments. And just now return to the natural rhythm of your breath, And just notice there's an inhale, a little pause at the top, a nice long exhale, and then a pause before the new inhale arrives. And just stay with that natural rhythm of your breath as I read Teresa of Avila's beautiful words. And during this first reading, just let them wash over you. Maybe notice if you feel anything in your body as you listen. There is a secret place, a radiant sanctuary, as real as your own kitchen, more real than that, constructed of the purest elements, overflowing with the 10,000 beautiful things, worlds within worlds, forests, rivers, velvet coverlets thrown over featherbeds, fountains bubbling beneath a canopy of stars, bountiful forests, universal libraries, a wine cellar offering an intoxication so sweet you will never be sober again, a clarity so complete you will never again forget. This magnificent refuge is inside you. I'll say that again. This magnificent refuge is inside you. Enter. Shatter the darkness that shrouds the doorway. Step around the poisonous vipers that slither at your feet, attempting to throw you off your course. Be bold. Be humble. Put away the incense and forget the incantations they taught you. Ask no permission from the authorities. Slip away. Close your eyes and follow your breath to the still place that leads to the invisible path that leads you home. And now I'll read that again. Just continue to dance with your breath and let Teresa's words wash over you again. And this time, maybe take note of a word, words or a phrase that jump out at you and speak to you in some way. There is a secret place, a radiant sanctuary, as real as your own kitchen, more real than that, constructed of the purest elements, overflowing with the 10,000 beautiful things, worlds within worlds, forests, rivers, velvet coverlets thrown over featherbeds, fountains bubbling beneath a canopy of stars, bountiful forests, universal libraries, a wine cellar offering an intoxication so sweet you will never be sober again, a clarity so complete you will never again forget. This magnificent refuge is inside you. Enter. Shatter the darkness that shrouds the doorway. Step around the poisonous viper that slither at your feet, attempting to throw you off your course. Be bold, be humble. Put away the incense and forget the incantations they taught you. Ask no permission from the authorities. Slip away, close your eyes, and follow your breath to the still place that leads to the invisible path that leads you home. And if you'd like, you can jot down a word or words or phrase that really spoke to you. You can contemplate later or listen to this recording again and then journal a little on what spoke to you. And then when you're ready, you can gently close your eyes again. And just begin to notice the natural rhythm of your breath. And just see if you can place your attention on the exhale. And just follow each exhale all the way to the end. And at the end of the next exhale, just notice that quiet space after the exhale before the new inhale arrives. It's a space where we don't really need to do anything. A space where Teresa of Avila would love for you to settle. And just breathe and place your attention on that space between the breaths over and over. For the next 3 minutes. If your mind wanders, it's okay. Celebrate that you've noticed and then bring your attention back to that space between the breaths. And I'll mind the time. And now I invite you to place a hand or two on your heart and just feel the rise and fall of your whole body as it's breathed. And just know that you can return to your breath, into that inner knowing anytime throughout the day. And we'll dedicate our practice to all beings without exception. May all beings be happy and healthy, free from suffering and the root causes of suffering. And may all beings learn about the rich world that awaits them inside themselves. And when that feels complete, you can move a little and gently open your eyes and re-enter your space. I left a couple of minutes if anybody wants to say anything about the experience or share what moved them with Teresa's words. Like I said, I could go on and on and on and talk about this for the next year. There's so much Teresa can teach us.
I want to thank you, Jane. That was so interesting. And I just really appreciate the wisdom and the passion for the subject that you shared with us. And I cannot wait for the class. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm so glad you're going to join us. I'm so glad you're going to come to the course. So it's going to be 4 Monday mornings at this time in October. First one is October 4th. I'm going to cover 4 Christian mystics. I think I'm going to do it chronologically. So the first one will be Julian of Norwich. And she's from England. She was from England in the 14th century. And she lived during the plague. And she lived in a tiny room in a church with one window. So we can relate to that right now, right? During the pandemic. And then Teresa of Avila, 16th century in Spain. And then her friend, St. John of the Cross, also 16th century Spain. Teresa they befriended each other. He's about 25 years younger than her, and they became very, very close personal and spiritual friends. And he wrote beautiful poetry while he was imprisoned and being tortured by his own priests. His fellow priests imprisoned him and tortured him because he was trying to change the order and have them go back to their original tasks of helping the poor and living a simple life. And they didn't like that. So he was imprisoned and tortured. And while he was imprisoned and tortured, this beautiful poetry just started coming out of him. And so we'll talk about him the 3rd week. And then the 4th week, I'm jumping all the way forward into some of our lifetimes, my lifetime, a little bit of my lifetime, to Thomas Merton, who mostly is known for his writings in the 1950s and 1960s, and he died in 1968. And the interesting thing is that we're going to go from 15th century to 20th century, and yet they're all saying the same thing in different ways based on their own, life experience. And I love that even though they're Christian mystics, they think for themselves, and they believe really strongly in a personal relationship with the divine. I love in this reading, one of my favorite things is when she says, put away the incantations and don't listen to the authorities. I love that. I love that. Just go inside and find it there. So I hope you'll join me. You can go on Mind Oasis and find it. It's going to be called Into the Mystics. So I've been listening to Van Morrison. Does anybody have any questions or anything else they want to say? No? Well, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that you'll go on the Mind Oasis site and check out my course, and something will move you to join us for those 4 weeks. It was wonderful seeing all of you today.
Thank you, Jane. This was great.
Thank you, Beth. So good to see you.
You too.
Thank you, Marilyn, and you made it all the way through.
I know. I feel so blessed. I was meant to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. It was great to see you. And nice to meet you, Melody.
Thank you so much. It was very, very, very beautiful.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. And the recording will be available. So it helps me, like, especially if you really want to do the Lectio Divina, the Christian contemplation, you can go back onto the recording and listen to me read it again. And then instead of meditating, go right into the journaling, and just, sometimes I read it, and then I think, I just sit with it, then I read it again, and then it opens something in me, and I just start journaling. And so if you want to do that with a recording, I recommend it. All right. I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Bye.